Okay, so what are the most searched questions on Google, YouTube, and AI I see about me? There's a bunch about breathing, and I know you're going to think I'm going to sell you a product. I'm not. Don't worry about it. And I will keep one breathing one with two normal questions, okay? But these are important also for stamina, so I might as well mention things. The first one, what ended Bas Rutten's career? What ended my career? My tendonitis in both arms. A lot of people look at this arm, you see this is all atrophied. That's not from fighting, it's actually from a fight scene in a TV show where I dropped upside down on my head. And I didn't feel anything. I started getting a lot of pain in my shoulder, so I thought, maybe I hurt my shoulder. So what happened was that I didn't use my arm anymore. Because I didn't use my arm anymore, I had no clue something was wrong with it. And about 6 weeks later, I think, 4 weeks later, I'm looking in the mirror and I look at my wife and I go, hey, is my arm getting smaller? This is weird, right? Then I had to do a UFC signing in Boston, and that's a 5-hour trip from California. So with the pain in my shoulder, I didn't want to do it. Went to the doctor, asked for a cortisone shot. I said, because that makes traveling much easier. So now I had a cortisone shot and I didn't feel my pain anymore. So at the airport, I remember picking up my luggage and I couldn't lift my luggage up. I was freaking out. I go, oh. And then, so I grabbed my other hand and I lifted it up. I go, okay, good, it's only one side. You know, I thought I lost my power. And that's when I realized something was wrong. And that's when the atrophy started. You know, these were nerves, C3, C4, they're all nerves. I lost my triceps, but I got those back. My shoulder was completely gone. I started getting a little bit back from that as well. And now recently, this muscle starts to come down. It was really bad, it was up here. So this was completely fallen, so now it comes back. Cable pull machines, just straight. Don't do this for biceps, no, just straight. I do that a lot, and that actually started sparking my lower bicep, so it's getting back. But that didn't end my career. Everybody thinks it ended my career, it's not. It was tendonitis. In the movie The Smashing Machine, you will see it. It worked a little different there. What happened during training, if I really want to muscle out or something, or I hit a bag, a heavy bag really hard, I would, at a certain moment, I would feel just like a little, like somebody tapped me here, whether it's on this side or this side, and sometimes it was both sides. And then I knew I had about 45 minutes, and after those 45 minutes, I'm gonna be an hour and a half, 2 hours in bizarre pain. And that's the tendon that is really hurting at that moment. Once that happens, let's say 2 weeks before a fight, well, I train 10 times a week. So that means 10 times a week, I'm gonna have 45 minutes to train. That's it, you can put a clock on it. I don't know why that is. And then the pain is going to be freaking insane. So that took all the fun out of training because I didn't want to do it anymore. I mean, when I say I'm in pain, like I had a sciatic nerve, I had a freaking 50% tendon tear, Achilles tendon tear. I had a lot of pain in my life, you know, but that pain, oof, yeah, that tops it. It is not tendonitis. Somebody called it a different name one time. Just take it from me. It's very painful. So that's it, right? It was from tendonitis. Took the fun out of the training, and that's why it's not from the neck. The neck happened much later in a TV show, actually. What was it? Lights Out with Holt McKelledy. Second question, why training harder is useless if your breathing is weak? Well, it's very simple, right? I wouldn't say completely useless, of course. Because if you're a person like me, and there's a lot of guys like me, who really like to push even though when things are going bad, I want to keep pushing because I'm challenging myself. If I get tired, I get angry. And I want to go harder. You know, I wired myself like that. Now, if that is happening while you're breathing wrong, incorrect, you struggle way harder. So mentally, you will actually get stronger from that. But then, I would simply say, if you have that mentality and you're used to keep on training, even when your breathing is not correct, so it's much harder for you, but then in 6 weeks, you can completely train your whole breathing pattern, you know, going from the shoulder press to the belly press. I always say doing this, that means that you have to raise all these muscles every single breath. It starts with that, and you're only using the top part of your lungs. Your lungs go, this is your diaphragm attached to the bottom here. It goes all the way to here. It goes down so deep it massages your intestines. Those, when they drop, is a negative air pressure, and that action of negative pressure that opens up the lungs. So the more you breathe diaphragmatically, the bigger your lungs open up. So it's a dramatic change. And that, if you combine that with the struggling that you had before, I think that's what happened with me, because I used to have asthma, of course, and I was breathing completely wrong. Like, my stamina now is just bizarre. I was just talking to my buddy, and I go like, man, the minute breaks I do in between rounds, I do 10 rounds of boxing and I go hard. You know, I have to fill them up with like leg raises with weights, or I gotta do something because I'm not getting tired. Third question, Bas Rutten's opinion of Steven Seagal. Oh, they always have to ask about Steven Seagal. Now let's go completely honest first, right? Freaking loved it as an actor. The movie Nico, I mean, the one on the boat, I mean, freaking unbelievable martial artist. You can say whatever you want to say, and people see him and they can have their own thoughts about him. And as a martial artist, what he does is really amazing. So yes, he's a great martial artist. The fact that he starts saying, you know, teaching people that Aikido will work in a street fight, it's not elements of Aikido will work. If you just do only Taekwondo in a street fight, it's always better if you got hands as well. And it's with every sport. The more sports you combine, that's why we have mixed martial arts, that makes you a complete fighter. Now, in Aikido, which is a beautiful art, there's a lot of throws, you know, but then somebody attacks you like this, and then you go with him and you throw, you see the arm coming. If I stand in front of you, they go, poof, you can't grab that punch. They're gonna go, poof, grab, poof, grab. You're gonna be too slow for that. Or somebody in the bar, you know, with a big right hook, yes, perfect. Aikido, they're gonna throw them. Beautiful sport. Now, there's a lot of elements from Aikido, like hand control and the way to control the arms, that you can use in mixed martial arts. I'm not saying that at all. But saying that pure Aikido is gonna make you win a mixed martial arts match, it's just not gonna happen. Can you get lucky? Of course you can get lucky. But I'm just saying the truth. That's why a lot of these guys, Aikido guys, they also start cross-training now. They start also regular boxing now. You see, now they start getting used to those speeds. And then if you mix it in, you see, so there's always good stuff. And again, it's the same as just wrestling. Is that going to save you? Yeah, at the beginning it did, but then you see people adapting, start stopping the takedowns or start submitting them. Look at Frank Shamrock, what he did, right? Frank Shamrock, 5-time UFC champion, by the way. He should be in the Hall of Fame, right? He got taken down and by a phenomenal wrestler, and right away he got him into an armbar. You see, so solely karate, solely boxing, only kickboxing, all these things apart, great, but it's not going to work really well if your opponent knows. Now, you can surprise them like I did my first 2 fights in Japan. They kind of knew I was a striker, but they didn't know the kind of speed and everything that went, so I dropped the first 2 guys. But the third fight I lost. Guess by what? By way of submission. You see, because they took my butt down, because they weren't going to stand with me. So it's very simple. You're going to have to adapt. You know, I did Taekwondo, I did karate, and then I did Thai boxing. You know, I tried to do everything, and then my third fight I got submitted. That happened 2 more times, the submissions, and you know the story by right now. I don't like losing, so I found this one guy, Leon Van Dijk, my man from Holland, young, was 19 at the time, great freaking striker, great athlete, and we just started rolling. Watching fights, watching instructionals, rolling, like 2 times, 3 times a day. I mean, the freaking guy was always there for me, and then fixed the problem, never lost a fight anymore. And I always mention this, and you heard me saying this, and I know because I'm proud of it. The last fight I lost by submission, I won my next 8 fights by submission. 7 finishes and 1 with submission control. That's what I always tell these people, you know, if their Achilles heel is the ground, do like me, stop striking. You know how to strike. The only thing you do is 2 or 3 times a week, you do the Thai pads for stamina to get her up there. But sparring, spend that time on the ground. Put yourself in the worst position possible and then just start fighting. I put myself on my back, you take any position you want, and then go for reversals. And once you do that for freaking 6, 7 weeks, 2 months, 3 months, suddenly it's very hard for a person to keep you down, because you know how to escape. Now, if you face a guy like Kevin Randleman, which I did, who's a phenomenal wrestler, and he's in between your legs, and he's based out with wrestling skills like that, yeah, there's not a lot you can do to get back up. You know, I'm sure the really freaking high level ones can do something, but still, you know, Kevin fought some really good guys also over in Brazil. It's just they have that base. They know exactly what move you're going to make. They know what switch, whatever you're going to do, a scissor attack or a backdoor escape. They know that. They've been there. I mean, they've been doing that since they were 6 years old. So it's going to be very hard to get a guy off like that. But that's why I always say, learn something more. And for me, unfortunately, in Holland, there was not a lot of wrestling. We have Bertje Kops, that's a really good wrestling coach in Holland, but he's in Amsterdam. And I was pretty much the only guy. So for me to go to Amsterdam, it's like at the wrong time. That's 2.5 hours. That's just the driving, and then you have to go back and then go all that stuff. Yeah, it was very hard to find. So once you came to America, it was too late for me. What I started doing is I just started focusing on the ground. Going back to Steven Seagal. So for the rest, I don't want to make any comments. You know how he is and the things that he did with Anderson Silva and the things that he said. I do want to mention one thing though. This is really funny though, because oh my God, I think first got knocked out. Anderson Silva knocked out Vitor Belfort with the front kick to the face. I believe it was that. And then maybe less than a month later already at the next UFC, because he also trained Lyoto Machida, right? Steven Seagal also taught him that dangerous front kick to the face. By the way, I did a front kick to Frank Shamrock's face in Pancrase, but because they said it was a kick that never was done before, they call it a Yoko Tobi Giri. That's a front kick to the face in karate. In Japan, or in Thailand, how many people see front kicks in the face? I mean, the kick has been there forever. But, maybe the setup was different. But I gotta give it to freaking Steven Seagal, man. Because this is what I said, Joe McCarthy told me this. So Joe McCarthy told me that first, so Anderson Silva knocked out Vitor Belfort. And then the next show, which was very close together, next UFC show, Machida was fighting Randy Couture. And while he was talking to Seagal, Seagal says, oh, by the way, tonight Machida is going to do the same thing to Couture. And so Big Joe McCarthy goes like, yeah, whatever did. But he freaking did it. He freaking did it. So, hey, we can say whatever we want to say about Steven Seagal. The thing I'm going to say is that I really love his movies. I think he's an incredible Aikido specialist. And I think he brought a lot of fun to the silver screen, and his own life and all that kind of stuff. Judging, I try to stay away from it. That's up to you. Everybody has his own things about that. But don't tell me that just with solely Aikido you can win. You can beat a world champion in mixed martial arts. It's just, we know this by now, it's not, but as I explained before, it's with every other single sport as well. If you just know one sport, it's not going to be enough. That's about it. Those are the first 3 questions. Next 3 questions are going to come. Godspeed, everybody, and party on. Moderation, though. All right, take care. Bye.